اليوم غارتين على مدينة بنش، كل غارة كانت مؤلفة من 3 صواريخ أدت إلى دمار 3 أحياء بالكامل. طبعا فرق الدفاع المدني قامت بانتشال الجرحى من تحت الركام، واستغرق العمل تقريبا 3 أو 4 ساعات.
نتيجة قصف على مدينة بنش أدى إلى دمار كبير بالصفوف المدنيين وإصابات بالغة، معظمهم من الأطفال. تم نقلهم إلى المشافي الميداني. طبعا استغرق العمل أكثر من 3 ساعات من قبل فريق الدفاع المدني.
يا استاذ خليه يضربها مفخخ. وين صار؟
ليك صار ينور، طلع بيدور. ضربوا عليه. ضربوه؟ ايه ضربوا عليه بكسيه.
رجع بكسيه ما يسوي صفح. رجع شايف المربع الزراير؟
الله أكبر! الله أكبر! الله أكبر! حرقة؟ الله أكبر!
الله اكبر حرقوا.
الله أكبر! تم تفجير المفخخة. الله أكبر! طلع في شاف يطير منه. بيطير منه نار. ايه
أرصى نفذ الجيبة.
الله أكبر.
الله اكبر.
كيف الطيارة فوقنا.
وينك؟ يا لطيف يا رب دخيلك. لطفك يا رب. ضرب يا رب. لطفك يا رب.
يا رب.
الله أكبر.
can be no doubt that sometime in the near future, the pro-government alliance plans to carry out a large offensive operation in the southwestern Aleppo countryside to roll back the front in the direction of the M5 highway and expand the buffer zone around Aleppo city proper. The recent increase of aerial bombardment missions by both Syrian and Russian military aviation seems to indicate that the time for this government offensive may very well be at hand. The first strikes of 2017 to be carried out in Aleppo by Syrian air power were delivered on the 7th of January. Airstrikes targeted the strategic crossroads town of Khan Tuman, which has served as a forward rally point for jihadist forces in their past offensive operations against the southern flank of Aleppo city. Further south, the town of Tal al-Is, another critical road hub under jihadist control which opposes the government-held town of al-Hada, was also bombarded by the Syrian Arab Air Force. On the 10th of January, the Russian aerospace forces entered the fray, carrying out their first airstrikes in Aleppo province since the start of 2017. Jihadist manpower, fortifications and military equipment positioned up and down the length of the Khan Tuman road was struck in a series of sorties by Russian frontal aviation. This was followed by a bombardment from Syrian Arab Army tactical missile forces, which hit targets in the Rashidin 4 and Khan al-Assal suburbs of Aleppo's immediate western periphery. On the 11th of January, Russian air power continued to carry out combat sorties against militant targets in the suburb of Al-Mansura and, once again, in the town of Khan Tuman. Jihadist manpower and heavy equipment were purged in these attacks. These airstrikes which are taking place have a twofold benefit. On the one hand, they weaken jihadist defences within the intended zone of operations envisaged for the upcoming government offensive. On the other hand, such strikes also serve to constantly undermine the regrouping and resupply efforts of Jaish al-Fatah to prevent the militant operations room from carrying out their own offensives against Aleppo city.
Militants are handing over their weapons in a village outside the Syrian capital Damascus under a deal which allows the army to enter and fix water pumps. According to the deal, militants who are not originally from Wadi Barada will be evacuated to Idlib province. The agreement also stipulates that the Syrian army will enter the area to fix the damage caused to the water pumps. Earlier in the week, the army attacked Nusra Front terrorists in Wadi Barada. The government accuses the terrorist group of disrupting the spring facilities, which supply the capital's water. Millions of residents have been affected by the disruption.
The United Nations says a nationwide ceasefire in Syria is largely holding, but there are some exceptions. Here in the rebel stronghold of Idlib province, at least 22 jihadist fighters have died in 24 hours of airstrikes, a monitoring group says. The attacks were reportedly carried out by both Syrian government aircraft and those of the US-led coalition. The latter denies targeting the area in recent days. In Babka, a village near Aleppo, children are said to be among at least 9 people killed when their house was hit. It's not clear who carried out the alleged attack. And in Al-Bab, north of Aleppo, the Turkish army is fighting ISIL militants for control of the immense city. Syria's truce brokers, Turkey and Russia, are planning peace talks in the Kazakh capital this month. The UN says it understands it will be invited. The US is not expected. On Thursday, it slapped 18 Syrian officials with sanctions related to the reported use of industrial chlorine as a weapon against civilians.